Sexy Red has pissed the world off, y'all. She went viral for mocking Martin Luther King on MLK Day this week, and the internet was not having it. What's more important here isn't just about Sexy Red's audacity and tackiness. It's a wake-up call for us to take a harder look at where the Black community stands today. What happened to the unity, faith, strength that we had during MLK's time? How did we go from marching with purpose 60 years ago to celebrating the glorification of hypersexuality, materialism, low morality, dysfunction? Baby, we're going to talk. In this video, we're going to break down the controversy and why it sparked outrage. And then we'll take a deeper look about how the Black community has struggled since Martin Luther King's assassination. And finally, I'll share 2 major lessons that we can learn from this to improve our lives and to honor MLK's values to strengthen our community. Let's get into it. Grab your tea. Rapper and artist Sexy Red, who's known for her unapologetic, ratchet lyrics and viral hits like Pound Town, which is catchy, she reposted an AI image of herself standing next to MLK, and the implication was that she's putting herself next to MLK. She's impactful just like him. And some folks found it funny, but others found it disrespectful. We're honoring a man who died fighting for our rights, and you're sitting here playing around with you wearing a sexual outfit facing MLK in an image, and it just doesn't look right. And yes, we've made progress as a Black community, but we're struggling today in ways that Dr. King could have never imagined. Here are some statistics about how bad the Black community is doing and that highlight the major issues that we're facing today. Here are 5. Number 1, poverty issue. Almost 20% of Black Americans live below the poverty line, compared to 8% of white Americans. That is a problem. Issue number 2, fatherless homes. 64% of Black children are raised in a single-parent household. And that's far up to Martin Luther King's days where most Black kids were raised in 2-parent households. Issue number 3, marriage rate issue. Black marriages have dropped significantly. In 1960, 61% of Black adults were married. Today, it's only 30%. So that's down a whole lot, also leading to the fatherless issue. Issue number 4, incarceration issue. Black men are incarcerated 5 times higher than white men. And many of our Black brothers are in prison and serving time. This wasn't common in 60 years ago. We weren't going to jail. We weren't doing crimes. We weren't doing major drugs back then. What happened? And a 5th issue is the wealth gap issue. The median wealth of a Black family is only $24,000 compared to $189,000 for white families. So we are not, as a Black community, are not retaining wealth, gaining wealth, and our generation is getting worse. Like even my grandfather did better financially than my mother's generation, and it's crazy. And my grandfather's mother was a slave. So the fact that only 2 generations later, they're doing better around the Martin Luther King time, and then since he died, it's just going downhill. Let's also talk about culture, because we can't ignore how hip-hop plays a major role in our Black youth mindset. Hip-hop started about 50 years ago, so right after the death of Martin Luther King, and it started as a movement of empowerment and sharing authentic experiences about the struggle and about life. But somewhere along the way, the message got very twisted. Instead of uplifting the community, mainstream rap is glorifying violence, drugs, hypersexuality, baby mama culture, baby daddy culture. And a lot of research is showing that repeated exposure to these songs that promote these themes increase risky behavior among our young listeners. They're listening to jail songs, they're going to jail, they're listening to hypersexuality, and it's affecting our youth and our next generation. Martin Luther King and them were not dancing to Pound Town and twerking for everyone to see and wearing explicit clothing. And for a culture that obsesses about money, we're not even making that much money and doing that well compared to other generations. When our role models for our kids are rappers who flaunt jail time and single-handedly normalize dysfunction. Is it any wonder why our community feels lost? What can we learn from this? Lesson number 1, this is a wake-up call. This controversy with Sexyy Red isn't just about her photo. It's a reflection of where we are as a community. Back in MLK's day, we had leaders, pastors, teachers, activists, people who set the standard of high morality, of growth, of change, of respect. Today, our kids are looking at artists like a Sexyy Red for guidance. And let me tell you, if Pound Town is the blueprint for the next generation, we are in trouble. It's time for us to wake up. MLK's generation believed in family, faith, purpose. They boycotted on buses. They fought for civil rights, not just to survive, but to thrive. They knew the power of unity and understood that strength in numbers could move mountains, and it did. We got freedom, we got rights, but look at what we're doing with it. Lesson number 2, let's honor MLK's values. If we want to see change, we need to embody the values MLK fought for. Here are 5 priorities and values that we can embrace from MLK to strengthen our community moving forward. Value 1, faith in God. Our culture has drifted from a spiritual foundation. Religion gave MLK and his generation hope and purpose. People across the board, especially in the Black church, are walking away from church and walking away from God because they've experienced a lot of church hurt. We get to go back to focusing on the basics, which is a personal relationship with God. And God is love. God is patient. God is kind. That open, loving message, not this "you're going to hell" message that so many of us in the Black community has heard. And it's sad that organized religion has affected people's relationship with having God. And without God's guidance, the world will lead us astray and lead us lost. And that's why our community is lost. Value number 2, family unity. Strong families build strong communities. MLK's family endured his flaws. Today's generation is not valuing family. They're not getting married. They're not waiting to have sex before marriage or commitment. They're hooking up. They're having babies with strangers. And the fathers aren't in the home, or they're in jail, or just not present. And this isn't all. This is a generalization. But like I said above, 60% of Black children are being born without a father, without a family, out of wedlock. That's a problem. Value number 3, education. Knowledge is power. During MLK's time, education was a tool for liberation. Let's bring back the hunger for learning and focus on building generational wealth through knowledge and building our own things. We don't have to wait for white America or the government to give us assistance or reparations. We can create things ourselves. It's really sad that in a lot of Black schools, kids aren't even able to read. We're losing our skills. They're focusing on this rap songs. They're on social media and TikTok. Today's new parents aren't watching kids and making sure and forcing them to prioritize education, to get good grades, to go to college, and to have stability in the future. The 4th value is community support. It takes a village. We have to stop tearing each other down as a Black community. Imagine if we all came together. We invested in Black businesses. We mentored our youth. We created spaces for collaboration. We would be far better. Look at the Asian community, for example, in America. They have histories of oppression. They come together. They invest in each other. They use Asian banks. They have a sub-community. They're not reliant on the American governmental system to give them things. They're like, we don't need you. We got everything we need. And the last value is 5, dream big. MLK had a dream. He understood that faith is the belief in things that are not seen. We get to get our faith in our dreams again. Dreams is how we go far. If MLK didn't have a dream, we would be back where we were, not having rights, not having freedom. They fought for our freedom. They didn't want to give it to us, but we boycotted stuff and we affected their coins and their money. And they were like, okay, hold up. You guys seem serious. You guys are coming together. We're listening. When you affect their money, they listen. And I hope we invest in things like Black entrepreneurship, teaching financial literacy, stop being consumers and instead being creators. Black people are the biggest spender when it comes to the luxury market, the car market, and investing in things that depreciate. Instead, I hope as a community, we invest in things that appreciate, like real estate, like stocks, like education, investing in yourself. Sexy Red's viral photo may have sparked outrage, but it's also an opportunity for reflection. Where do we go from here? Do we keep glorifying dysfunction, or do we step into the values that MLK stood for? Dr. King once said, "Our lives begin to end the day that we become silent about things that matter." Well, this matters. It's time to reclaim our legacy, to build a future that our ancestors would be proud of. If you're in for that, raise your hand. Like and subscribe and watch another video. Mwah.